Hi everyone, it's Heather with Tropica Exotica, and today I'm going to be talking about you as God or you as Source. So before we get started though, I wanted to kind of check in on what the energies are feeling like for everybody, because the last few weeks have been really a roller coaster ride. I don't know about you, but it was probably 2 weekends ago, I guess, I was just not feeling right. I was waking up feeling like nauseous and sweating. And then last weekend, it seemed that the energies were really high and I was, really motivated and full of energy. And that lasted for a few days. And then on Tuesday, it seemed, I don't really know and understand exactly what's happening energetically, other than these incoming energies. They kind of come in waves, and how you react to them kind of depends on a lot of different things. But on Tuesday, probably by 8 p.m. I was in bed and I woke up sweating. I had nausea, I had a sore throat, I had a headache. I ended up sleeping the next day until 11 in the morning. And so when that stuff happens, it's one of those things where you want to become more self-aware and start to question, okay, wait a minute, what are these symptoms about? Kind of run through a few different options that it can be. And one of the things that you always want to consider is, are these ascension symptoms? And so it just so happened that Aluna Ash ended up getting on Wednesday online and asking people about how they were feeling. And she had said that she'd been exhausted all day as well. And so as I was looking through the comments, other people also had the same type of symptoms. So it's one of those things where it doesn't always align, where you're able to get confirmation from other people. But to me, it's always very helpful. And I know in my last video, I talked about these incoming energies, and that was the reason why we were having these physical symptoms and emotional symptoms. And one thing that I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of is that you can always look up online, you can Google the Schumann resonance and look up to see what's happening on the charts. Now this won't always reflect exactly if you're tired or if you're energetic, because I know some other people that follow this have said, sometimes they feel they're extremely tired and they look on the Schumann resonance chart and they don't see anything. That doesn't always happen, but lately it seems like when we get on the Schumann resonance, it seems like there's a lot of, really high energy coming through. There's a lot of white blotches, which indicates a lot of energy. So it's always kind of good to check in with other people. Some other people that I follow regarding the incoming energies are Sandra Walter. She has a website and she posts articles on there. Lisa Transcendence Brown, she also posts writings. And then Aluna Ash, she has videos where she talks about the energy. So just wanted to touch base with everybody and see how you are feeling, because I know these energies are amping up and they're continuing to amp up. So just, try to stay calm and focused and rest when you can and take care of yourself is the best advice I can offer, because we're all going through it. So just wanted to let everybody know that I'm feeling it these days too. So today I wanted to talk about one of the foundational concepts that you'll hear about, that is, you are God, you are Source. So this sounds very simple, and it seems now where I'm at in my spiritual awakening process that it's like, okay, yeah, I'm God, I get it. But that was actually one of the concepts that kind of triggered my dark night of the soul, because before then I had always felt that there was this God aspect out there, kind of controlling everything, or was at least a source of comfort if I felt that there was something not going right in my life. And so when I kept on coming across time and time again people talking about, that you are God and you are Source, and it's kind of like, okay, wait a minute. So that was a core foundational belief for me. And because that was, to me, what kind of centered me, that really shook me up. And it was part of one of the things that like I said, triggered my dark night of the soul along with a few other concepts that I'd come across. But now I understand it and now I'm okay with it. But I think I think the hardest thing is that you always feel that that there's somebody out there that's kind of like got your back. But ultimately you are the one running the show. And so it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm responsible for everything. I created all this. And so once you kind of start realizing that, it kind of makes you like step back and look at things totally differently. And so that kind of starts a process of becoming more conscious and more aware. So that's one of the things that, you know, really stood out for me during this process, and I wanted to talk about that. That dark night of the soul, that happened probably about a couple years into my spiritual awakening process, and it was extremely painful. I don't really know how to describe it other than you feel like a part of you is trying to die, but it won't. And you keep on like, just die. And for me, I could never, my ego, it's your ego that's fighting, and my ego would never die. I've heard other people say, you know, just surrender, and that didn't happen for me. So it felt like a series of kind of mini nervous breakdowns. And so part of the core foundational belief that I felt, you know, was lost when I didn't have God to look up to anymore. I literally felt like I was laying on my bed and just like falling. Like these belief systems that I had been broken down. They were gone. I had to try to figure out, okay, wait a minute, how do things work now? And so, you know, like I said, it seems like a simple concept now, but definitely this was one of the ones that really hit me, and it hit me hard. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, to kind of just illustrate it, I kind of look at God or Source as kind of like a sun. And so if you think of yourself as God or the Source, everything projects from there. And so when you project, basically you come into existence on earth with a veil of amnesia, which basically means that you cannot come to earth and experience life unless you have this veil of amnesia. Some people do stay fully awake, but that's not as common. But this spiritual awakening process, basically, it is awakening to remembering who you are, which is an infinite soul. And so there's a lot to that, but that's kind of the basics of it. Okay, so if we say that we are God, then what exactly does this mean? So basically, this is where the law of attraction comes in, because we are creators. We create our own reality, and we create our own reality through our thoughts, words, actions, feelings. And I have this statement here. I came across this in a video once, and I found it extremely helpful as far as understanding the concepts and how powerful your feelings are when it comes to creating in your world. Thoughts are electric, but feelings are magnetic. So when you have an extremely strong feeling, you're going to draw those creations into your life faster, because feelings are magnetic. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, because when it comes to creating your own reality, you need to understand that the more emphasis that you put on your feelings, that's going to draw things into your life very fast. And so one of the concepts that you'll also hear about is this term being sovereign. And so sovereignty is basically knowing and standing in your own power. So once you become awake and aware that you are God, that you are the creator, then you are able to work and create consciously. So we are now awake and aware of who we are, and so we can create consciously. So before we're awake and aware that we are the ultimate creator being, we create unconsciously. And so this is where we really start to stand in our own power, because we can step back and say, you know, is this something I want in my life, or is this something I don't want in my life? And so, you know, that's one of the hardest things that you come across, is you realize that you have created everything in your life up until this point, probably unconsciously, and now that you're aware, you can start taking actions and make sure that you create what it is that you want. So one of the terms that you'll also start to hear is about unity consciousness. And I remember when I first started hearing about that, I was always confused. Like, you know, the concept that we're all one. It's like, okay, well, I'm Heather, you're John, so we're two separate beings, so how are we both one? So that's where this comes in, which is basically saying ultimately we are all one. We are all one source. And so one of the things that is also helpful is if you've heard about the term namaste. That basically means the divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you. So I find that to be very humbling, and I love that statement, because it's whenever you see another person, you're always recognizing the divinity within another person. So as you go through this and you have realized, okay, wait a minute, if I'm God, then who do I pray to? And you can always continue to pray to God if that resonates with you. Obviously, we each have our own choices. But for me, I think I felt more familiar with asking to call upon my spirit guides or Jesus or Archangel Michael if I'm ever in a situation where I feel like I need assistance of any kind. Because those beings are here to support us as well as other beings out there. And so even though we are responsible for our own reality that we recreate, you have to understand that we also have support. We have support through other entities. We have support obviously through our friends and family. So I don't want you to come away from this video thinking that you're it. I mean, obviously we're here to support each other. So another concept I want to talk about is the idea of consciousness in everything. So I wanted to give an example of something that happened to me that was very profound. I was in a plant nursery one day and I was picking up an orchid that was on the sale rack. And as I picked it up, I heard it say, "Please take me home." It was in my own words, in my own voice, but it wasn't my words. It was that plant communicating to me. And that probably has been the most humbling experience I've ever had. I mean, when you start to realize the consciousness in everything, it completely changes your perspective on things. And it helps you have more reverence, I think, for life and nature in general. And one of the things that I had read a while back was in a book called The Intention Experiment by Lynn McTaggart. And she talks a lot about different experiments that they've had, and they have shown that even the thought of harming a plant, that they will have a reaction to it. So it's really amazing when you start to understand just how aware the things are out in our environment and our day-to-day lives. So it's something that I just wanted to share with everybody. And I think that, you know, intuitively, culturally, historically, we have always blessed our food before we've eaten, and I think it's because, you know, ultimately we understand and we're grateful for, you know, that plant providing nutrition for us. So that's another concept that, you know, as you begin to awaken, you'll start to experience and be more aware of, and understanding you as source and how there's consciousness and so many things around us. Alright, and on my final note, I wanted to just, if there's something that I come across during my week that I think might be helpful for somebody, I'll plan on sharing it. And I did come across something this week that I felt was very helpful for me, and it was a different way of looking at things, so I thought I'd share that. I was listening to a podcast with Teal Swan, and it was on clairvoyance. And I'll include a description in the comments section below, I guess, a description box on this channel, so that you can go listen to it if you want to. But one of the things that she said was the only reason that we need forgiveness is because if we're judging somebody. But ultimately, what we want to have is compassion and empathy, so that there is no judgment, and so therefore there's no forgiveness. So I thought that was very profound, and it's something that I intend to bring forth going through on a daily basis, is to be more compassionate and understand that when people do or say things, that you have to understand that they're doing the best they can with what they know. And so that's one thing that I just want to leave everybody with for this week. So stay tuned for the next set of videos. We'll be talking about other basic concepts on the spiritual awakening process. Thanks. Goodbye.